So strings compare a little bit differently than numeric values. So I want to see how that works. So let's start with a numeric example to begin. All right, so let's say we have a lucky number is 7, and then we ask the user for a number. Enter a number. All right. Oh, we didn't make a scanner object yet. I don't have a scanner, so I can make a scanner and keyboard dot next int. All right, so we say if the user number equals the lucky number, just print a message. Say that's the lucky number. You win. And it's important that the braces match up right. So let's compile this. C comparing strings, even though right now we're just comparing integers. Enter a number. 8. Nothing. Let's try it again. Enter a number. 7. That's the lucky number. I win. Great. All right, so suppose we want to compare string data. Suppose we have a password. String password equals Zula. And then we'll ask the user system.out.print, say what's the password. And we have a string user input equals keyboard.next. So we're not interested in spaces here. There are never spaces in a password. So we just use keyboard.next for a single string. That's also going to avoid any kind of trailing new line from up here. So let's look at this. I'll say so. First attempt at this, we might want to say something like if user input equals password, but this isn't going to work. This will not work. We'll print a message. I say system out print line. That's it. You have access. That's the password. So let's watch what happens. So recompile, execute. All right, so we're up here, right? To enter a number thing. 6. No. Okay. So just moves on. Now I say, what's the password? Let's just literally copy and paste it. So we know we're not making any typos. Nothing. Okay. Nothing. All right. So let's make sure, right, that user input really is what we think it is. Let's just print it here. System.out.println, say you entered, and print the user input. Recompile. Enter a number. 3. Nothing. What's the password? XULA. You entered XULA, but somehow the XULA I entered is not the same as XULA here because this statement is coming up false. All right, if this statement was true, we would see this line. We're not seeing it. Right? You're not seeing it because this statement is false. Well, how are they not equal? Well, has to do with some technicalities about how strings are stored in memory. Right? This is one string. This is another string. Right? And there are two places in memory. And they're different places in memory. And it turns out that when you use double equals on strings, you're just comparing the places in memory. You're not really looking at the context. So to compare strings, we have to do something a little different. We have to say, give one string. So either string, you can start with either string, and say dot equals. And then in parentheses, the other string. So this is how we compare strings. You have to use dot equals to compare strings. So let's take a look at that. We'll recompile and re-execute. Okay, number 7. Oh, that's the lucky number. I win. Password XULA. You entered XULA. That's it. You have access. All right, there's my statement. There's my statement. This is true. All right, it was true before, but we weren't putting the right statement. So user input is the same as password, but they're strings. All right, so integers and doubles, chars can be compared, for equality with double equals. Strings have to be compared with dot equals. There are some other operations. Now, if you want to know if one string is less than another. So suppose I have 2 lines, right? And if your name begins with A through M, you go to 1 line. N through Z, you go to the other line. So we can have characters can be compared. So say last first line goes up to M, let's say, right. And then we'll ask the user for their last initial. What's your last initial? And we have a problem here. This Java doesn't have a next char. It has next int, next double, next line, but next and next line both produce strings. We're trying to produce a char. We need to actually say that we want just the first letter. So I'm going to say my char, my user first initial is keyboard.next. But now I have to say that I only want the first letter. The way to say that is char at 0. Otherwise, keyboard.next returns a string that's not going to go into a character. So we can compare these directly. So if, say, if user first initial is less than or equal to first line, then we'll say system out.println you go in the first line. So let's take a look at that. How to compare strings. Enter a number 4. What's the password? Zula. All right, that's it. My last initial is L. I go in the first line. So run it again. Enter a number 7. Dillard, you entered Dillard. Okay, I don't have access. what's your last initial? Let's say it's S. No output. S is not less than or equal to M. So the statement is false. I do not see this. So the relational operators can be used on chars. They can't be used though on strings. Suppose I want to compare two strings. Let's say I'm going to alphabetize my dog's names. And we'll say string dog1 equals keyboard.next. And do that for second dogs, dog2. And now I want to know if dog1 is alphabetically comes before dog2. So I might want to do something like this. If dog1 less than dog2. Well, it won't work. It won't work for similar reasons that string equality won't work. String inequality doesn't work either. So to do an inequality on strings, use something like this. Take either string, whatever order you want to compare them in. You start with the one on the left, say then dot compare to, and then put the other one in parenthesis. You're not done yet. You're going to say compare how. So if you want to know if dog1 is less than, comes before in the alphabet, right, comes prior in the alphabet, so that would be less than, you compare it to 0. So you compare this whole thing to 0. So less than 0. And then we'll say something like so we compile that, we run. Number 7, password Zula. My last initial is L. My first dog's name is Augie. My second dog's name is Toby. I say Augie comes before Toby. Do that again, the other way around. 8, Q. All right, first let's say Toby, and then Augie. I do not see the statement. Right, so the statement doesn't execute because, right, T for Toby is not less than A for Augie. So that illustrates comparing strings. Compare strings for equality with dot equals. Compare strings with inequalities by using compare to, and then compare your relation to 0. So if I wanted to know if dog1 was greater than or equal to dog2, I would say greater than or equal to 0. Incidentally, you can also compare for equality by comparing the compare to directly to 0. That would give you dog1. This is equivalent to dog1 less than dog2. Okay.